Tonight on ABC News Live, prime chaos erupts after a deadly ICE-related shooting in Minneapolis. And a warning, the video you're about to see is disturbing. The chilling video appears to show a woman blocking a street in her SUV during an immigration crackdown. One of the ICE officers opened fire. The Homeland Security Secretary claims the woman tried to run down the officers. Minneapolis mayor is furious, calling that, quote, a garbage narrative.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
Our Alex Perez is on the scene. The breaking news overseas tonight, the Trump administration releasing dramatic video that shows the U.S. seizing 2 oil tankers out of Venezuela, including a Russian flagged ship in the North Atlantic. The Kremlin is outraged, calling it outright piracy. All this as the White House is pressed about who's actually in charge in Venezuela, as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle denounce any plans to use the military to seize Greenland. And outrage is growing in Colombia after Trump has threatened that country, too. In Los Angeles, the major shakeup for Nick Reiner's defense just moments before his arraignment on murder charges for the deaths of his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. His defense attorney suddenly withdrawing from the case. The former college football star and NFL player in critical condition, badly burned in a ranch fire near his home. Food pyramid changes, and Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. introduces new dietary guidelines, major changes to the inverted food pyramid.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with a growing outrage following the deadly ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis. The FBI is now investigating after federal authorities say an ICE agent fatally shot a woman in her car today. Officials have now identified that victim as Renee Nicole Good. Homeland Security says the woman was allegedly attempting to run over law enforcement officers during an immigration operation. The Minneapolis mayor reacted with fury, saying he saw the video of the incident and claimed the agent's actions were not self-defense. We're taking a live look now at the protests happening in Minneapolis at this moment. Meanwhile, protests are happening across the country in response to the shooting. In New York City, large crowds have gathered at Foley Square. And amid the ongoing protests in Minnesota, Governor Walz said he is ready to deploy the National Guard if necessary, while also encouraging protesters to make their voices heard peacefully. We'll be joined by Minnesota's Attorney General in a moment, and the former acting head of ICE as well. And we'll show you video of the incident in just a moment. A warning, it is very disturbing. ABC's Alex Perez leads us off from Minneapolis.
Tonight, protests and anger on the streets of Minneapolis after a federal agent shot and killed a woman this morning, caught on horrific video posted on X. ICE claiming self-defense, local officials calling it reckless.
She appears to be a middle-aged white woman.
The incident unfolding around 10 o'clock this morning. The disturbing video posted on X shows the vehicle back up as an officer grabs a door. Then multiple shots, including through the windshield. The car accelerating and crashing.
It was horrible. I mean, she crashed her car into a parked car in front of me. A neighbor ran across the street and opened her car door to see if she could provide any assistance.
The angry crowd forced back, throwing snowballs. Agents responding with pepper spray and tear gas.
There is nothing to indicate that this woman was the target of any law enforcement investigation or activity.
The Department of Homeland Security, who announced they were sending at least 2,000 agents to Minnesota this week to begin what they called their largest immigration operation to date, says agents acted in self-defense, claiming they were stuck in the snow when the woman attacked them.
They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Mayor Jacob Fry, reacting to claims of self-defense, did not mince words.
Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is
He had this message for ICE.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
Governor Tim Walz urging calm but laying blame squarely at the Trump administration's feet.
What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life.
And
Lindsay, you can see demonstrators are still here on the streets. And now the victim was identified just a short time ago as 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. These protesters say they will continue to demonstrate until ICE leaves Minneapolis. Lindsay?
Alex, thank you. And for more now, we're joined by our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, what's the latest that you're hearing now from law enforcement sources?
Well, what I'm hearing from sources is, despite the rhetoric going back and forth with the federal government having one point of view and state and local officials having a completely different point of view, the key will be the FBI investigation and the investigation done by state police officials to determine exactly what took place. There's an effort underway to get all the video involved, including any worn by law enforcement officials in terms of body camera footage, also any footage from local passersby, people in the neighborhood. They want every angle possible to go through it frame by frame so that it can be determined exactly what took place, what was the woman in the car doing, what was the position of the law enforcement official, what was the angle. That is what is going to clear this up. But suffice it to say, this has been an ongoing escalation in terms of immigration enforcement in this country. Today we had a death that is now national headlines.
Pierre Thomas for us. Our thanks to you as always. And for more now, we want to bring in Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. We thank you so much for your time during this especially difficult time. Our condolences to you. First of all, just want to get your reaction to the death of a member of your community.
It's outrageous. It is a predictable, foreseeable outcome of the dramatic escalation of forces by the president who did not want to cooperate with anyone, who came in here with a group that I believe is poorly trained for the work that they're doing, who really kind of gave them a green light to be as aggressive as they wanted to be. And now we see the tragic outcome and the loss of human life. And this is as much a policy failure as it is a individual excessive use of force. As Pierre mentioned, there will be an analysis on the use of force here, but I think that only tells a very small part of the story. The big part of the story here is that the President of the United States deployed troops in the form of ICE against Americans, and now one of them is dead. And the blame lies with him. And that's not to take responsibility of the officer who used deadly force in a situation that does not appear to call for it. But it does mean to me that the big policy issue and the decision from Washington, from this president, can't be ignored either. I also have to tell you, I'm deeply disturbed by the presentation of Homeland Security Secretary who has said things that are flatly contradicted by the video. And I'm just disappointed. I served in Congress with Kristi Noem. I never thought she was capable of uttering such dishonesty straight to the face of the American people. But I guess a lot of things have changed, and ambition can do a lot of things to your integrity.
And of course, as you just mentioned, the investigation is ongoing. You've seen the video. It seems that people along partisan lines are seeing two different things. What do you see when you watch it?
I don't think people are seeing different things. I think people have different conclusions they want to come to, so they're letting their conclusions guide what they're seeing. But it is clear to me that she is trying to evade them to go get away, and that they're pulling at her door, and she's trying to not be pulled out of her car and trying to escape them. And that is when the deadly force is employed. So that's what it looks like to me. And I guess it is true, frame by frame analysis, every angle, every video. We need to go through it in a methodical way. But I think it's also important to keep in mind that, when you have the feds investigating the feds, that does not imbue people with confidence, right? There needs to be a robust state role here. And I think that is absolutely critical if we're ever going to get an investigation that comes to some conclusions that people can have any confidence in.
As Attorney General,
by the way, that's not a negative comment about our local FBI. That is a comment about how people perceive a situation when one agency essentially investigates itself. And I'm aware that ICE and FBI are different, but people see them as the feds. So I think there needs to, yeah.
As Attorney General, what will you do to ensure justice is served?
Every single thing I possibly can. Everything in my power. I believe that it is absolutely critical that transparency and accountability prevail in this situation. And there's no stone that I won't unturned to get to a just, fair outcome based on the truth of what happened here.
This shooting today occurred less than a mile away from where George Floyd was killed by police in 2020. His death, as you know, prompted turmoil and challenged how police operate in this country. How would you compare this moment to the reckoning that followed the death of George Floyd?
You know what? It's the fact is that people were deeply disturbed by both of these incidents. One of them, we saw a man die under the knee of a police officer whose job it was to protect and serve him. Here we see, deadly force used by essentially a protester on a protester who was simply trying to keep a watchful eye on her immigrant neighbors. People are outraged by it. I agree with the governor. Please protest peacefully. Trump wants somebody to go beyond the limits so that he can justify his force against the state of Minnesota and its residents. So be peaceful, but absolutely stand on your right to freedom of expression.
There is understandably a lot of anger in Minnesota tonight. That's clear from comments coming from the Department of Homeland Security and the neighbors of Renee Nicole Good. How are you calling on the people of Minnesota to respond?
With clarity of message that this is wrong and this cannot stand, but also discipline in use of your First Amendment rights. Again, I caution people, don't let your emotions outrun your common ability to your common sense. So in other words, protest militantly, strongly, but protest peacefully. Let your voices be clear, let your message be clear, but make sure that you do not exceed the bounds of the law yourself, because I believe that the protests that are going on are righteous and good. And I don't want the protests to get a bad reputation. I want the protesters to be seen as patriotic Americans standing up for the best values of our nation, like accountability, fairness, equality under the law, respect and due process for all people. So I'm asking for people to protest vigorously and robustly, but also peacefully and within the law.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, we cannot thank you enough for your time. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
John Sandweg is a partner at Nixon Peabody and was the acting director of ICE during the Obama administration. He joins us now. Thank you, sir, for joining us. DHS policy on use of force states, quote, deadly force is authorized to prevent the escape of a fleeing subject where the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject poses a significant threat of death or serious physical harm to the officer or others. You served as the legal counsel of DHS for 4 years. You've seen the video now. Was this shooting justified?
Linsey, it's too soon to tell. Certainly the videos raise troubling questions about what happened here. It absolutely demands an investigation. It demands that we follow standard protocols. And those standard protocols include not rushing to judgment, not issuing candidly, frustratingly, not issuing statements clearing, making conclusions about who was in the right and the wrong, but rather let the facts drive the outcome here. That is why those protocols exist. But again, there are a lot of questions that are unanswered. We don't know exactly what led up to it. We don't know why the officer who did the shooting was positioned where he was. And it's hard to tell from those camera angles exactly how close it was. But that's why we need an investigation. But I think, like the Attorney General said, part of the problem here is there's a credibility gap. And statements like the Secretary issued just further that credibility gap.
Who are the ICE agents, and what do you think in the interim, as this investigation is ongoing, should happen to the officer involved?
Well, standard practice would be administrative leave until the outcome of the investigation, and I would hope that that is followed here. That's nothing punitive. And again, by saying we want an investigation, by saying you want to put the officer on leave, this is not an attack on the ICE officers themselves. I have no doubt that the officer got up this morning looking to do something to make this country safer, not looking to go out and shoot someone who might have been protesting what they were doing. But the reality is that we do a disservice to the agents when we automatically jump to conclusions about what happened, and there needs to be a proper investigation in order to make a rational determination based on facts about whether or not he had a reasonable belief that his life or the life of his officers was in danger at the time he made the shooting.
Who are the ICE agents? Are they local officers, retired officers?
One of the questions I think that would be helpful to know here is that we've had a hiring spree of a lot of people right now. What we don't know is this a seasoned officer with extensive training and experience, or is this somebody who is a newer recruit? Those kind of questions maybe don't bear on the question of whether or not the use of force was reasonable, but they inform, should we be more concerned with what the administration is doing, Linsey, in terms of trying to fast track the hiring of individuals on ICE and shortening the training that they go through. But again, there are going to be in Minneapolis right now conducting this operation are a combination of probably 3 different agencies. Quickly, 1 are ICE officers assigned to the field office there in Minneapolis. 2 is we know they've surged over 2,000 ICE officers from both the criminal investigative side of ICE and the immigration side into Minneapolis. And 3, we know there's a significant Border Patrol presence. Based on the video, it's difficult to tell. I don't know if this was a criminal investigator for ICE or an immigration officer. Either way, both are federal law enforcement, both are armed, both are subject to the same use of force policies.
Do you think that the ICE agents should be wearing masks?
No, Linsey, listen, in a perfect world, they wouldn't. And this has not been an issue until this administration, but we've created a supercharged environment. And I'm sympathetic to the individual agents themselves. They have an obligation, constitutional, to follow the directives. Want to do a mass deportation from Minneapolis, they have a duty to go execute that. I blame the administration itself. And so, but I'm sympathetic to the threats the agents are facing, but by all means, we should not be in a situation where agents are wearing masks. It diminishes the credibility of the agents, and it really creates fear for the people that they are there to. Remember, this is a law enforcement agency, and at the end of the day, ICE is there to serve the American people, not sow fear.
You say you blame the administration itself for what exactly?
Well, we've politicized immigration in a way. Immigration enforcement is always highly politically charged. Linsey, during the Obama administration, highly politically charged, but it's been escalated to new levels. We've also, part of this mass deportation effort, we've required ICE to change their tactics, where we've gone away from these more targeted operations, focused on pre-selected people with a criminal history, to more massive roundups. And then as a result of that, we've triggered these protests. And then we've told these officers we want them to aggressively reward them for aggressively do. That increases the likelihood that something like this could happen. Now, this case is a little unique in that the individual appears. Frankly, we don't know exactly what was going on. This is not kind of like some of the other use of force issues where we've seen where they're confronting large groups of protesters. But again, that is not something that ICE is trained to do. It's not one of their core missions. And by putting them in that position, I think that the administration has created risks to both the officers themselves and to the public.
John Sandweg, we thank you so much for your insight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now to the latest on Venezuela. The Trump administration released video of 2 oil tankers today linked to Venezuela being captured. One was a Russian flagged vessel captured in the North Atlantic that officials say had been evading U.S. forces for weeks. The other was captured by the Coast Guard near the Caribbean. ABC Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz has the latest.
Tonight, the bold U.S. seizure of 2 oil tankers accused of transporting sanctioned Venezuelan oil, including a Russian-flagged vessel that had been evading U.S. forces for weeks. U.S. helicopters swooping in during a dramatic pre-dawn operation. Elite Coast Guard forces rappelling onto the deck of the Sophia, a tanker sailing in international waters near the Caribbean. Near Iceland, that Russian-flagged tanker seized, the Marinara, formerly known as the Bella 1, seen in this video from Russian state television, being pursued by the U.S. Coast Guard. That vessel also linked to Venezuela's illicit oil trade, eluding capture for weeks after an earlier attempt to seize the ship in the Caribbean did not succeed. The crew hurriedly painting the Russian flag on the side of it, trying to deter a U.S. seizure. The Kremlin now demanding the safe return of that crew. The administration insisting this is all part of a larger plan to control Venezuela.
The way that we control Venezuela is we control the purse strings, we control the energy resources, and we tell the regime, you're allowed to sell the oil so long as you serve America's national interest. You're not allowed to sell it if you can't serve America's national interest.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio dismissing criticism from lawmakers who accuse the administration of having no plan, today announcing a three-phase proposal for the future of Venezuela.
It's not just winging it. It's not just saying or speculating it's going to happen. It's already happening.
Rubio calling phase one stabilization, which would include the sale of roughly 30 to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil. The White House saying the U.S. will share in the profits. Venezuelan state-run oil company confirming today it is negotiating that sale with the U.S. The second phase, according to Rubio, recovery, which will open up Venezuela's oil market to American companies and others. The last phase, Rubio says, is transition, though no specifics were provided. Some Democrats tonight blasting the proposal.
This is an insane plan. They are talking about stealing the Venezuelan oil at gunpoint for a period of time undefined as leverage to micromanage the country.
And Martha Raddatz joins us. Now, Martha, what's the White House saying about the tank seizures?
Well, Lindsay, they say the seizures of those tankers will continue. The president wants them to continue despite the rising tensions with Russia. The administration saying the crew of that Russian flag tanker is subject to prosecution, even though Russia has said they want that crew back. Lindsay?
Martha Raddatz for us. Thanks so much, Martha. We move on now to the White House firestorm over repeated claims that the U.S. plans to seize Greenland. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are pushing back, with one Republican calling it, quote, absurd. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, a growing number of Republicans denouncing the Trump administration's efforts to pressure Denmark, a NATO ally, into handing over Greenland. Republican Senator Tom Tillis attacking one of the president's top aides for declaring obviously Greenland should be part of the U.S.
Turning around and making insane comments about how it is our right to have territory owned by the Kingdom of Denmark. Folks, amateur hour is over.
Other Republicans criticizing the administration for refusing to rule out using the military to seize Greenland. Senator Mitch McConnell saying using force against an ally would be an especially catastrophic act of strategic self-harm to America. House Speaker Mike Johnson insists taking Greenland by force is not a possibility.
I don't think anybody's seriously considering that. And in the Congress, we're certainly not.
Tonight, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says what the president really wants to do is buy Greenland.
That's always been the president's intent from the very beginning.
Rachel Scott joins us now from the White House. Rachel, what's Greenland's response tonight?
Well, Denmark has made it absolutely clear that Greenland is not for sale, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio has not even fully explained how the U.S. would go about purchasing or buying Greenland, but he did say he will be meeting with representatives and officials from Denmark and Greenland at some point next week. We know those officials have been trying to schedule this meeting with the Trump administration now for weeks. Rubio says it will finally happen, Lindsay.
All right, Rachel Scott for us. Thanks so much, Rachel. For more now, let's bring in Oklahoma Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Senator, thank you so much for joining us again. You received a classified all-Senate bipartisan briefing today. You called it the most detailed and direct classified briefing you've ever been a part of. There's been so much talk and concern from both sides of the aisle about any role U.S. troops may have on the ground in Venezuela in the future. Is there anything at all that you can share about next steps in that country?
Well, I don't want to get into the procedures, what took place that night, classified briefing, as we said, but we can talk about some things that may be moving forward. Lindsey, I will tell you, I've been in hundreds, if not more than hundreds, of classified briefings, and this was the most detailed and the best briefing that I have been part of. And I'm not just saying that to say it, I mean it sincerely. They went through detailed 30-second timelines, the whole process from before we even went in, but what led up to it, the planning process, the operation itself. Everybody in there, Republicans and Democrats, literally gave a round of applause after Chairman Kaine briefed us on it. That tells you how good. That's never happened before. That tells you how good of a briefing it was. And everybody there was proud. And so it's frustrating to me to see what's going on now with the Democrats going out and criticizing what took place, because that was a good briefing. However, moving forward, what we want to do, Lindsey, is to make sure we give the Venezuela people an opportunity to take back their country. They have been ruled by dictators for 25 years. Maduro, who was, an illegitimate president, he refused to step down. Clearly, he lost the election. Clearly, he was robbing the Venezuela people, their oil reserves, and using it for a safe haven for cartels to poison the streets of the United States. He was indicted 5 years ago. We went in there, removed him. This was a law enforcement operation that the military helped with. Now what we're doing is we're going to say, hey, we're going to help you get back on your feet.
Do you have any more information about the Americans who were injured in the raid?
Yes, I will tell you that I believe there's 3 that may still be hospitalized. 1 was going to be released, I believe, today, so that'd be 2 that would be left in the hospital. There was 4 that was, I wouldn't say minor, but somewhat minor. Everyone is expected to have a full recovery, though.
This week, top Trump advisor Stephen Miller was pushed repeatedly in an interview if the administration would rule out using military force in Greenland. He said nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland. Just today, Speaker Johnson said military action is not a possibility. Do you agree with Speaker Johnson?
Yeah, listen, we're not looking to invade Denmark, or not Denmark, but Greenland. We would love to purchase Greenland from Denmark. Obviously, strategically speaking, it is a good fit for a security posture. Look what happened in Alaska. Look how good that's been for the United States after we purchased Alaska, and that's covering our western flank. Now, the Greenland is same proximity, if you want to say, on their eastern side. So for security purposes, Greenland would be a great fit. We would love to be able to work a deal out with Denmark to be able to purchase Greenland, and if not, we just want to have a good relationship. But it's a strategically placed, very important position for us. But for us to go in there and commit troops, that is absolutely not going to happen.
But Denmark has said again and again and again, Greenland is not for sale. So once we get to that point, then what?
Well, everybody says that until it is for sale. And so what we want to do is have a good conversation with an ally. Denmark is an ally of ours. Just sit down, let's have a conversation on how the security posture will work, because we do know the United States is the strongest and most powerful military in the world, and we provide peace and security around the world for countries that need us, and Denmark is one of them. And so what we'd like to do is have a very serious, productive conversation on how we can move forward, and Greenland is, like I said, it's very strategically placed. And so at the end of the day, if Denmark says no, then it's no. However, we want to try persuading them into saying yes.
Before we let you go, I do want to get your reaction to the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. Of course, we've heard Kristi Noem say that the ICE officer acted in self-defense. Here's how the Minneapolis mayor responded to that.
Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull.
Your reaction?
Well, the mayor isn't watching the same video as I have been watching, and the American people have been watching. It's clear that there was an ICE agent that was standing in front of her car. It was clear that she pulled out and blocked the ICE agents from moving forward. It's very clear that when she accelerated, she hit the ICE agent that was standing in front, and that is, at that point, using a vehicle in a lethal manner, and that becomes a weapon, and the ICE agent has full authority to defend himself and use the same amount of force moving forward. Listen, if you don't want to don't put yourself in harm's way. Don't put yourself in a position like that. It was clear what she was obstructing the ICE agents from doing. And when she was given clear instructions with her window down, she didn't comply. Then she accelerated and hit an ICE agent sitting in front of her. And he's well within his right to be able to use lethal force at that point.
Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, we so appreciate you joining us once again.
Thank you.
Coming up, remember the food pyramid? Well, the Trump administration just flipped it upside down. The new dietary guidelines already being challenged by some in the medical community. And after America's military operation in Venezuela, neighboring Colombia is worried they could be next. Our James Longman is on the border as protesters question America's motives. And the government says Amazon must pay out billions of dollars for deceiving its customers. How to find out if you're entitled to a refund. Welcome back. Tensions with the U.S. are heating up for Venezuela's neighbor to the west. Tonight, many are taking to the streets as Colombia's president calls for a nationwide rally to defend the country's national sovereignty and democracy. How will these ongoing escalations affect our shared fight against drug trafficking in the region? Our chief international correspondent James Longman reports from Cúcuta, Colombia.
After the shock of the American operation in Venezuela, neighboring Colombia is worried what plans President Trump might have for them.
Donald Trump's war of words with the Colombian President Gustavo Petro has only intensified since Maduro's capture. And so Colombians across the country have come out to say no to U.S. intervention.
And just outside Bogota, ABC News' Matt Rivers followed another crowd of protesters.
The few thousand people here in Bolivar Plaza in Bogota have two messages. One, to the United States, stay out of our country. And number two, to the people of Venezuela, estamos contigo, we are with you, condemning that U.S. attack.
Far more drugs enter the U.S. from Colombia than do Venezuela, but it's a problem both governments have historically worked to combat together, and so comments like these are causing serious concern.
Now, we have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor, but it's close to a neighbor, and that's Venezuela. It's very sick. Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States.
David is here to defend Colombia and is skeptical of U.S. motivations in Venezuela.
So they have been thinking over the last 100 years that this is just a place to take in resources.
Is it better for Latin America that your partner is America and not China, not Russia, not Iran?
So what I think about this is that China now is on the top. They are changing the rules. This is all like Cold War somehow. And USA is watching, is witnessing how they are losing this power.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro isn't afraid to shoot back at Trump, posting on X, "The title that Trump assigns me as an outlaw of the drug trade is a reflection of his senile brain. He sees true libertarians as narco-terrorists because we won't give him either the coal or the oil."
Because of that long history of U.S.-Colombia, the cooperation that we have with the intelligence, with the military, is ongoing. And it's very important for U.S. national interest to keep that going, to stop the flow of drugs, to help the Colombians with their counterterrorism problem.
But in Venezuela, the right to protest is only for Maduro's supporters. Traitors never, loyalty always. The defiant cries of the now absent president's security services deployed to the streets of Caracas to show the world he may be gone, but his regime lives on. The Colectivo, unofficial secret police, have set up checkpoints searching for any sign of celebration at Maduro's downfall in a campaign of intimidation to ensure the new leader, Delcy Rodriguez, can command the same respect of her predecessor. This is a regime now doing business with a new trading partner, the United States. Trump posted online saying interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high-quality, sanctioned oil to the United States of America. For years, Maduro plundered Venezuela's resources for his own gain, and it's unclear whether simply replacing Russia and China with the US will reform this corrupt kleptocracy, ensuring regular people see their lives improve. Meantime, exiled Venezuelans look on with cautious hope. Alessandra left Venezuela when Maduro came to power. She now helps exiles find new lives abroad.
Donald Trump's critics say that this is about freedom for you, but for him it's about oil. What do you think?
Duramos 25 años en el régimen con Chávez en ese momento. O sea, entraron muchos países que se vieron prácticamente, por así decirlo, como sanguijuelas, pegados, comiendo oro, comiendo petróleo, los diamantes, uranio. Inclusive, ellos fueron los que mandaron prácticamente la maquinaria para poder sacar el petróleo de Venezuela y llevarlo a otros países y poderlo vender. Sí, entonces, o sea, vamos a pelear algo que nosotros nunca vimos, o sea, el petróleo nosotros nunca lo vimos.
As we talk, Alessandra's daughter, Alyssa, joins us.
So Alessandra's hope is that Alessia is going to grow up in a world without Maduro. The difficulty she has is all of Maduro's allies are still very much in power.
Our thanks to James, and we've just learned tonight that President Trump and Colombian President Petro spoke by phone. President Trump says that he appreciated his call and tone, and arrangements are currently being made for a visit to the White House. Coming up, what scientists may have discovered on a Leonardo da Vinci painting and what it might mean for the art world. And Amazon customers, you may be getting a special delivery. Could a refund check be coming your way? Welcome back to Prime. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. The FBI says it's investigating in Minneapolis after federal authorities say an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in her car today. Homeland Security says the woman was allegedly attempting to run over law enforcement officers during an immigration operation. The Minneapolis mayor, though, claims the agent's actions were not self-defense. Officials have identified the victim as Renee Nicole Good. Nick Reiner's arraignment was delayed today after his attorney Alan Jackson asked to be replaced. Jackson said that he had to withdraw, quote, due to circumstances beyond our control. Reiner, who faces 2 counts of first-degree murder for the alleged killing of his parents Rob and Michelle Reiner, is now assigned a public defender. Reiner will return to court on February 23rd and remains in jail without bail. Former football star Jordan Shipley is in critical but stable condition after suffering severe burns following an accident at his ranch in Texas. According to his family, Shipley was operating a machine on his ranch near his hometown of Burnett when it caught on fire. He was flown to Austin, where he remains hospitalized. And the Trump administration unveiled new federal dietary guidelines today. The revamped food pyramid encourages Americans to eat more whole foods like fruits and vegetables, incorporate healthy fats, full-fat dairy, and prioritize protein-rich meals that include red meat. What to limit: highly processed food and refined carbohydrates. Officials say these changes, which come once every 5 years, are meant to target chronic disease and set a guideline to, quote, eat real food. And still ahead, the state of Utah has announced a new program allowing autonomous AI to prescribe medication. We'll tell you how it works when we come back. Artificial intelligence is now prescribing medication in Utah. Why Amazon must pay Prime members billions of dollars. And scientists think that they've found Leonardo da Vinci's DNA, which could change the world of art. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. A Baltimore man risked his life this week to rescue his neighbors after their home caught on fire.
The caller's advising house on fire. She's upstairs with 2 children.
Stephen Angelini told ABC station WMAR that he woke up to popping sounds outside his house. He saw the home across the street was in flames and billowing smoke from the windows. Angelini ran over and told the mother to drop her children to him out the window. He caught them both in his arms before other neighbors joined in and helped the mother climb down to safety. The local fire department then extinguished the fire, and the family was treated for only minor injuries. Amazon is contacting eligible customers about how to get their refund as part of a $2.5 billion settlement with the Federal Trade Commission. The FTC accused Amazon of tricking consumers into signing up for Prime and then making it difficult to cancel. The refund payments are capped at $51 per person and are expected to be paid later this year. Artificial intelligence platform OpenAI is diving right into health and medical advice. The company announced that they're testing a new tool for users to connect their medical records and wellness apps to then get help with medical decisions. Also today, Utah has become the first state to let autonomous AI handle routine prescription renewals instead of a doctor. The state announced a pilot program in partnership with AI platform Doctronic to give patients with chronic conditions a faster way to refill medications. The company says that AI is trained to err on the side of caution and escalate the decision to a doctor if there's uncertainty. A professor in Tennessee who was fired for comments on social media about Charlie Kirk is now being paid $500,000 by the university. Austin Peay State University settled a lawsuit brought by Associate Professor Darren Michael. Michael had shared an article quoting the conservative activist's own gun violence beliefs, which caught the attention of Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn. Blackburn then posted his biography and tagged his employer. The university brought the associate professor back into the classroom last month. Scientists studying the DNA of legendary artist Leonardo da Vinci think that they've just made a breakthrough after finding biological remnants of one of his works of art. Researchers swabbed his Holy Child painting and found traces of DNA that they think the late Italian artist left more than 500 years ago. They cannot yet be sure the DNA is his because there's no DNA sample to compare it against. Art history experts say tracing DNA on artwork could transform how the art world authenticates precious artwork. And humanoid robots are taking over at the CES Technology Show in Las Vegas. Robots are dealing hands of poker, grabbing snacks for attendees, and dancing. And California startup Arc is making waves with its fully electric sport boat that the company says is quicker and quieter than a gas-powered boat without any emissions into the water or air. The tech showcase continues through Friday. And coming up 1 year after wildfires exploded in the Los Angeles area, we return to see families and their communities try to rebuild. Stay with us. This is ABC News Live Prime. It's officially been 1 year since the California wildfires ripped through the Los Angeles area. The fires destroyed roughly 13,000 homes and killed 31 people. Today, hundreds of homeowners are still displaced, with many Californians fighting to try to rebuild what was lost. Our David Muir returned to see the families and what they hope their future holds.
It was 1 year ago tonight. Los Angeles was on fire. When we arrived to the deadly apocalyptic scene, and this is how we came on the air.
24 hours into this, you can feel the heat, the smoke, and you certainly can see the flames over my shoulder here. Home after home continuing to burn to the ground.
Fire embers sweeping down the street, the flames reaching the ocean.
All this is going to be gone.
We were on the ground with CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Brent Pasqua.
The cars here charred.
The charred cars where families simply stopped and got out to escape the flames.
These people who were coming down from the hills here decided to give up because the fire was encroaching?
Right. The traffic was so bad, they figured their chances were better getting out on foot and running the rest of the way out of here.
We walked through the darkened neighborhoods there, the smoke hovering above the homes, many still crackling from the flames. An airline passenger capturing this harrowing view out his window. The sun low in the sky over Los Angeles, reflecting a new reality, the most destructive wildfires in Los Angeles history. The largest fire, the Palisades fire, and the horror it left behind. Our team at KABC with the view from above, street after street, burned to the ground. In one neighborhood, we learned of neighbors texting one another, saving them from the flames.
This was the house here on the corner that began to burn, and then they alerted everyone down the street to get out of their homes because they knew it was just a matter of time before the flames jumped from house to house, which is exactly what it did.
We remember the scope of the damage was difficult to put into words.
The cars here in the streets incinerated what's left of sort of the burned out, charred metal frame here, just sitting on the street here. And if you look across the street, there's still some embers burning here.
We would learn that many of the families who lived on this street were watching that night. That's how they knew their homes were gone. 1 year ago, we will never forget meeting this husband and father of two, Alessandro Vigilante.
Have you seen your house yet?
No.
He raced to the school to pick up his boys, his wife staying behind to grab their most important documents.
I'm sorry.
Alessandro and his family lost everything.
I think it's impossible for people around the country to look at this and understand the scope of this devastation. Everything is gone.
Yeah.
But you've got your boys and you've got your wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we figured out the rest.
We promised we would go back. And 1 year later, on that same street, we meet up with Alessandro.
Alessandro.
Hey, David. How you doing?
That was a fast year, but not for you, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Unfortunately not.
There was little left.
The white picket fence here, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that's still here.
Yeah, but that's
the
it.
only thing that, yeah.
He tells me it's been a real struggle.
Did the insurance company cover you?
Yes, it was. It's not been an easy process. You don't expect to have to discuss anything. It's a total loss, basically looking at every single detail that I can think of, from the handles that you had on the doors to the type of countertops. And again, to me that was mind-blowing, because I'm like, well, when we signed the policy, that's the moment you should have decided whether my house was worth that much or not. Now it's too late.
He says it's been a year-long battle, the final insurance check arriving just 2 weeks ago.
It's taken this entire year.
Oh, yes.
To get the money, the value of the house.
Literally, we had the last check like 2 weeks ago.
They have decided not to rebuild. They're simply trying to sell the lot, but it's not worth what it once was.
It's half of what the bank assessed the value of the lot, not the house. Just the lot, just 4 years ago.
Half of what it was assessed at 4 years ago.
Yes, just the land.
That's a big loss.
Oh yes, it's huge.
And his is just one family story. There's Liz Jones across the street down the way, standing where her family home once stood. That charred car we showed 1 year ago, it was her daughter's.
When you saw us walking past that burned out car, you knew that was your daughter's car.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And is that when reality set in?
100%.
So this is it?
Yeah, this is it.
Liz and her husband are determined to rebuild here, insurance covering it. This is where they raised their family.
So where was the front door?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to guess it was like here, maybe?
Yeah.
And we noticed something else she's been wearing for nearly a year.
A year later, you're still wearing the Palisades.
Of course.
The numbers are staggering here. Nearly 24,000 acres burned here in the Palisades fire alone. Nearly 7,000 structures, most of them homes. We're back here on Hartzell Street where we were standing just 1 year ago, and you can see home after home wiped from the earth. For the families who live here along this street, the last year has been a struggle, deciding how to rebuild here.
The struggle for Alessandro, for Liz, and for Preston and Kelsey Hayes, who have 2 young children.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Are we the first visitors to your new home?
Yes, welcome.
They are rebuilding here. It was 1 year ago, wearing protective gear. They wondered if they would ever come back.
Were you concerned at all about the soil and what might be contaminated from the fires?
Yeah, for sure.
And the tests, you did do the testing and you felt reassured by the tests?
Yes.
Yeah.
But 1 year later, as they look out across their neighborhood, they know the reality.
It's been really eye-opening, right, to learn who's coming back and then who's going to just move on.
Yes.
Liz is still down the street, but Alessandro and his family next door, they're not coming back.
We want the community to be the same. I don't think it will be, unfortunately.
They know that Alessandro and his family are moving on.
I know this has been taxing on the family and on the marriage, too. That's part of the layers of going through a disaster like this, isn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, yes, very much so.
And when you look at this,
it's okay. It was a chapter of our life.
And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Good night.